Hello, and welcome to another episode of Just Scare Us Already, the podcast where we discuss horror movies, both old and new. We give our opinions and we continue to search for a movie that will scare us. I'm your host, Cheyenne, with my co host, Dave.
Hi.
Here, give us a like and a subscribe and a follow on all of our social medias down below. But for now, let's get into it.
Yeah, so as frequent moviegoers, we have all seen one or several films that not many people have seen, but we consider these films worth watching. I'm sure some people will not agree with all our picks, but that's fine. These are strictly based on our opinion. Hopefully, we will bring some of these to your attention and possibly give you something new to watch. So, we decided this episode, we're going to give you some of our hidden gems, some films that we think were worth watching that you may or may not have seen and kind of flew under the radar when they first were released. But most of these films, you can find them on streaming in various locations. So these aren't in any particular order. We're not basing them on our top five favorites or worst or whatever. These are just basically some films that we considered worth watching, and hopefully you will too. So Shy, let's start with you. What's one of your hidden gems?
Yes, so my hidden gem, my first one of my top five, I'm not sure if this is considered a hidden gem in South America because it is a Spanish movie, but at least here in
Okay.
America, it doesn't have any high ratings. I haven't seen it mentioned much. So mine is Sleep Tight from 2011. This one was
Okay.
directed by Jaime Balaguero, written by Alberto Marini, and starring Luis Tozar, Marta Etura, and Alberto San Juan. And and I'm sorry if I butchered any of those names. But this movie follows Cesar, is a timid and lonely concierge who has the idea of killing himself to escape his mundane and thankless life. However, he finds something to bring him happiness, causing someone else's misery. He creates small misfortunes in the lives of the tenants, but becomes especially agitated by the bubbly and happy Clara. He goes to great lengths to bring her pain and obstacles. Have you ever seen this movie?
No, nope, I haven't.
So this movie I thought was so good. I've seen it. I saw it a long time ago, and when started doing this list, I stumbled upon it. I believe on Tubi or Plex. So if you're interested, it's on one of those two channels. I will give a warning though. This movie does have essay in it, so be aware going into that. But overall, the movie is a very slow burn, more psychological thriller than traditional horror movie. There's no jump scares in this one, but
Mhm.
it never gets to that point of a full jump scare, but it has a great sense of tension and creepy atmosphere. Cesar shows himself to be friendly, well mannered, and interested in every one of his tenants, but like the description says, he is slowly trying to just ruin the life of this very happy, sweet woman for what seems to be no reason at all. It goes from making horribly rude phone calls and text messages to full on, like I said, assaulting her in the night. And the ending is absolutely, it just sticks with you as a woman, especially. It's messed up. It's such a good one though, psychologically speaking. And honestly, at some points you worry about him getting out of situations, which typically you wouldn't for the crazy person. But they did such a
Mhm.
good job in directing it and in the acting of it. So that one I definitely think is worth the watch. It is free on Freevee, Tubi, and Shutter.
All right. So
But what
yeah, I'm gonna
about
have to
you? What's your first hidden gem?
I'm gonna have to check that one out. So for me, one of my favorite hidden gems is 2017's Mayhem. This movie starring Stephen Ewan and Samara Weaving. So basically, it's about this guy named Derek, and he's having a really bad day. After being unjustly fired from his job, he discovers that the law firm's building is under quarantine for a mysterious and dangerous virus. Chaos erupts throughout the office as the victims of the disease begin acting out their wildest impulses. Joining forces with a former client who also has a grudge for the higher ups. Derek savagely fights tooth and nail to get to the executives on the top floor and once and for all settle the score. This movie, uh, I enjoyed watching it. It kind of reminds me of that film, the Belko
Yeah,
experiment.
experiment.
So yeah, but this one is a virus that just kind of makes people, either really aggressive or, you know, horny, so to speak. So you've got all these people running around this building, killing each other and doing all kind of crazy stuff. So it's a bloody movie, but it's fun to watch. If you like that, if you like those type of movies, this is definitely a movie that, you know, if you want to see some gory stuff and an interesting story, it's worth the watch.
Definitely. And I think Samara Weaving is just becoming such a top hitter on our
Yeah.
podcast because
Well,
we've
that's
given
that.
almost all her movies top notch.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, she definitely loves to be covered in blood and chasing and being
She's
chased.
violent, but not just being like not yeah, not just being chased, but turning the tables on people. I think every movie she turns the table, and I think it's so good. She's so good at that. She has
Yeah,
that good
definitely.
victim face. That's sad. You feel scared for her face, but she will twist it in the end. She's so good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that's a good
Um,
choice.
yeah. Well, thank you. All right. How about you? You have another one?
Yep. So my next one is, and I know we saw this one together. It's Pet from 2016, starring
Okay.
Dominic Monaghan, Ksenia Solo, Jeanette McCurdy, and Devon McDonald. This one is about a man, a veterinarian, who bumps into an old crush and holds her captive underneath the animal shelter where he works, in the belief that he can save her from her own flaws. This one I've never seen anyone really talk about much, and I think it is so good. I think it's free on Tubi, and it's such a twisted movie. I
Mm,
very much enjoyed it. I remember seeing it a while back, and I loved it when I had first saw it. Seeing it a second time, it's not as actually no, I would say it's still as good. I forgot the twist completely in it. So the beginning, it does a great job of showcasing Seth, the main character, as a meek, empathetic individual. And once he meets Holly, he becomes absolutely obsessed and just quickly 180s, kidnaps her, is this kind of guy who thinks he's all in charge of the situation, only for her to absolutely turn a dime on him, manipulative, crazy. And I think that the twist that happens in it, the big reveal that I don't want to give away, was a little outlandish, to be honest. And I kind of thought it was a little bit exaggerated, but all in all, I thought that it was handled really well. It added a new depth to the movie. It added such a good layer of manipulation halfway through that just kind of the ending especially was so good. I think that this one is so worth the watch, but all the characters in it do such a good job. Do you remember this one?
vaguely. It's been a while since I've watched that.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely when I watched it again, like I said, I completely forgot the twist. So going into it blind is really good because the twist will get you. It's twisted. But yeah, definitely worth the watch on TV.
Oh, okay. All
What
right.
about you? What's your next one?
That's another one I'm gonna have to check out.
Yeah, you got to rewatch it. So
Yeah.
I think we might have it on Vudu, you and I, but if not,
Okay.
it's on Tubi.
All right. Cool. Well, that's a good segue. Speaking of twist, one of my other hidden gems would be 2017's Bad Match.
Yeah.
This film stars Jack Cutmore Scott and Lily Simmons. So basically, the main character Harris, he just wants to hook up and have one night stands, all in good fun. But he finds people to hook up with on a dating app. He spends his days working, playing video games, and swiping left and right for his next, booty call, so to speak. Um, but all is well in his world until he swipes and matches with Riley. Unlike his other conquests, Riley won't go away as quietly as all the other girls. slowly everything in Harris's life begins to fall apart. So when I say good segue about twist, because the twist in this
Mm-hmm.
film was really
So
good.
good.
Yeah, I mean, and this film actually got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes on the critics
Oh, good.
score. Yeah, so it was 100%. The audience score wasn't as good; it was only 44%. But I think
Wow.
it was one of those films that kind of, 2017 was a while back, so it's kind of hard to exactly remember, but I don't remember seeing any advertisement for this film. I didn't see
Mm-mm.
any trailers for this
It's
film.
I believe it's a Gravitas Venturas film.
Okay, okay, so just,
So I know that they don't typically. I think they just go straight to DVD typically.
yeah, usually, but this one actually, I do remember seeing it, a poster of it in the
Oh.
theater. It was playing in one of those AMC multi theater
Oh,
buildings, and
okay.
so it was playing. But I
Just not
when I saw it, I'm
advertised.
like, never heard of that one, But when it did come out on video or streaming, whichever one it may have been, I did get a chance to watch it, and I actually like this movie a lot.
Hmm.
It's funny, it's uh, kind of crazy, and like I said, the twist in it is was really good, really creative. So yeah, definitely one to watch.
I agree. I like that movie a lot. I think that it did a good job of making it seem very cliche,
Hmm.
only to really subvert expectations towards the
Yeah.
end. I love showing this movie to people. And I think they
Yeah.
probably got a kind of lower score because it is very it's not high budget. It's not a high budget movie. You can kind
Right.
of tell it was on a cheaper dime, which I know typically, like we've talked before, kind of gets a little bit of a rag, even if the movie is good.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, when it's straight to streaming, or like you said, depending on the production company, some movies are saddled with that stigma that, oh, it's cheaply
Hmm.
made, so the movie must be garbage.
Yeah. Well, my next one is not cheaply made. This one's actually a pretty big hitter in terms of actors. And I
Hmm.
swear, Tubi took me down a whole path. I had a whole different list for this movie or for this episode. And when I was scrolling through Tubi, I just kept seeing movies and going, oh, I remember that movie. It was really good.
Hmm.
So mine is it's Skeleton Key from 2005, starring Kate Hudson, Gina Rowlands, John Hurt, and Peter Sarsgaard. This one follows a hospice nurse working at a spooky New Orleans plantation home who finds herself entangled in the mystery involving a house's dark secret and its occupants. This movie definitely starts off cliche spooky house, creepy old people, common jump scares. It's very 2005. It's you can tell every jump scare coming a mile away. However, it's still a very fun watch. It leads you down a rabbit hole of a mystery at the heart of the story. You really think you're going one way. You're with Kate Hudson's character the whole time. She is trying to solve this mystery and you think yeah, she has it. She's got this. And the twist, I love a movie with a good twist. I'm learning. The twist in this movie, the ending of it is so good. It's what makes me love this movie so much. I was trying so hard to solve it alongside Carolyn, the main character. And I thought that the whole thing was extremely well done. All the actors, phenomenal actors. I love Gina from The Notebook. John Hurt is phenomenal in almost everything he does. And his role in this movie is so limited while also being so expressive. He basically plays a mute, almost paraplegic old man who needs assistance, obviously and yet he does such a phenomenal job the whole time. I think that the ending of this movie is very satisfying and it is extremely fitting for the movie as a whole for the entire way it was going. The twist never comes off as sudden or dumb or out of place. But yeah, so this one, phenomenal. Definitely, please give it a watch. It's definitely older. You can tell it's kind of from 2005, but I think that it's so good. Free on Peacock and Tubi, of course, because I'm now a Tubi girl, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember seeing that movie years ago. I don't remember the entire story or how it ended,
You
but
just gotta watch my whole list then.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about you? What's your next one of our top
So
five
this
movies?
one, yeah, this one I know you and I have watched together. And this 2008 Splinter. So this one stars Shea Wingham, Paulo Costanzo, and Jill Wagner. So basically, this is about this couple, Polly and Seth, who are planning on a nature trip, and they decide to, it's getting late, let's get a motel. Unfortunately, they're carjacked and kidnapped by a couple of low rent crooks, who take the victims in their SUV to a nearby gas station. So along the way, they encounter an increasingly terrifying horde of parasites. And if any of them intend to survive, they have to outsmart the deadly organisms. So this movie, again, it was one of those films that hadn't heard too much about. I think you and I were just trying to find some scary movies to watch, and we came across this one. Great movie though. I thought it was well paced, and just being in that gas station, being able to contain everything within that one area,
Hmm.
one set was pretty cool. I definitely enjoyed this one. And this was another one that got a pretty high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It actually got a 76%
Oh
critic
wow.
score. And again, audience score was a little bit lower, 49%. But I think it's probably because again, it was one of those movies that wasn't widely advertised and just kind of flew in under the radar. So, but definitely,
Yeah.
I think it should have a better score than 49%. I think it's a very good movie.
Yeah,
Definitely
I
worth the
agree. The
watch.
body horror. The
Yeah.
body horror of that movie is really good. It reminds me, as you were talking about, it reminds me of the movie ATM. I don't remember if you remember that one with Josh Peck, where they're trapped in
Yep.
an
Hmm.
ATM thing. So that's also a good one. It's not on my list, but that's a good one. And the whole trapped in a very small confined area, it kind of
Hmm.
reminds me of that aspect of it. Good movie. Give it a watch as well. But my next movie is not that one. This one actually made our list for our 31 Days of Halloween. My movie
Okay.
Terrified from 2017. This one is also a Spanish movie. So sorry about these names. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce any of them right, but it stars Maximiliano Gianne, Elvira Oneto, and Norberto Gonzalo. So this one is so good. This one I know you can find on Shutter and AMC Plus subscription. I wasn't able to watch it again recently, but I did remember this vividly. I've seen it a few times now. But when a strange events occur in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires, a doctor specializing in the paranormal, her colleague and an ex-police officer decide to investigate. They soon learn things in Buenos Aires may be far worse than they expect. This movie is phenomenal. I will tell you, I believe it's only subtitled, which I think is why it took me a little bit to watch it. I tend to not
Hmm.
really watch a lot of subtitled movies just because I get distracted easily. But this one, you have to sit through. You have to watch. Now that we have AMC Plus, Dad, you need to watch this one. I love the scares. I'm not kidding. This one is traditional horror movie all the way. It has the jump scares. It has a great creature design. The characters that the movie follows are really fun. I liked every single one of them. They're all older people, like around 60s, 50s to 60s. But
Okay.
I still felt myself drawn to them. They never felt like they were trying to say anything about their age. It just felt like that was the storyline that they were going with. It's like I said, filled with jump scares, tense scenes. The storyline of a reluctant doctor coming to explore these hauntings was really good. It gave us a sense of like forebodingness, I guess, because he didn't want to
Hmm.
be there just as much as everyone else didn't want to be there. So you kind of felt the sense of like, oh, let's not do this. Let's go back the whole time. Um, and especially when it became clear what they were dealing with was something far darker than they had faced before, it gets so good from that point. I would say not even halfway, maybe a quarter into the movie, it really gets into it. I mean, it starts great, but it gets really into it so quickly into the movie. There's no
Hmm.
slow pace of it. Even the talking parts are pretty well done enough that it doesn't feel like it drags. And the ending of this movie, it it's really really nice. It's so simple but sleek, and I really want everyone to watch this one. I think it did well because it was a Shutter movie, so I think it did do well for a little bit during COVID times, and I think it was very very popular in South America, but I've never heard anyone talk about it, and I think that this movie well deserves the talk. It is so freaking good. Please watch it.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out.
So
Seems
what
like
about
I'm
you?
gonna
What's
have
your
to.
next one?
Seems like I'm
You
gonna
have to
have to
check out
watch
my
the
whole
whole
list.
list. Yeah, exactly. So for me, and again, this is another one that you and I watched, and it's 2015's Hidden. This film stars Alexander
Oh,
Skarsgård,
so good.
Andrea Riseborough, and a very young Emily Allen Lynn, who you may remember from the Babysitter films on Netflix, Doctor Sleep, and most recently Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire.
Oh God, I forgot she was in that.
Yeah, yep, she's a little
Wow, she's
girl.
good. I love
Yeah,
her. I
a
love
little
that
bit.
girl.
So basically, and this movie is very simple. It's a family, a husband, wife, and a daughter living inside a fallout shelter, faced with a mysterious threat from the outside. The twist in this movie was fantastic. It's a slow burn, so it's definitely one of those movies where there's some action, but not a lot. There are some tense moments, but mostly it's about the family trying to survive, and they're faced with some issues within the bomb shelter or fallout shelter. So they have to quickly make a choice: do we leave the shelter and face whatever's out there trying to get them, or do they continue to try to struggle to live in this fallout shelter? But again, like I said, the twist in this film was really good. It's definitely worth the watch. If there's one of those afternoons or weekends where you just want something clever to watch, this would be the one.
Yeah, that's such a good movie. That's such a good call. So my next one is a kind of a two-parter, because I really enjoyed the original, which is The Caller from 2011. It's a
Mhm.
Spanish British collaboration starring Rochelle Lefevre, Stephanie Moyer, and Lorna Raver, as well as the remake that I do know was much more popular. This one was a Netflix movie called The Call. It's a Korean remake of the original from 2020. But I wanted to put both because both are so good in different ways. The
Mhm.
Caller, the original movie in 2011, follows a young divorcee who is getting her life back together by moving into an apartment. But what will she do when a strange person repeatedly calls from the past? This movie, phenomenal. It's not very slow, I shouldn't say, but it's kind of slow. You can definitely tell it's an older movie. It's The filming isn't phenomenal compared to nowadays. Um, but Rochelle does a great job in this movie. The entire idea of it is basically she's getting a call from this woman who lived in the apartment before, her name Rose. And this lady is sad. She needs someone to talk to. She's in an abusive relationship, but she is crazy. And as soon as she learns that she is living in the past, she uses this to basically control Rochelle's life, killing people within her life and making her feel like she's going insane. As she's the only one who remembers these people. And it gets so dark so quickly. And you're wondering the whole time, how do you fight someone who lives literally in the past? You
Mhm.
can't do much. So it's such a good film, though. It does a great job of keeping the suspense. While again, you can't really showcase too much because they're not living in the same time period. But it
Mhm.
manages to create this horror of, yeah, this lady in the past who is psycho is controlling your life without you being able to do anything and changing everything about your present. So it's so good, and I'm so happy they did a remake that I think did get a better reception because again it was available on Netflix. But The Call 2020, starring Park Shin Hye, Jeon Jong So, Lee El, and Kim Song Ryon. Unlike The Caller, The Call follows two people who live in different times but the same house again. Seo Yeon lives in the present and Young Suk lives in the past. One phone call connects the two, and the lives are changed irrevocably. This one's a little different because, unlike the other one, where one's an older lady and a young divorcee, these two are both teenagers, one living an absolutely abusive lifestyle, and the other one having just lost her father but still has a loving family. The remake, I think, personally, I think is much better. It has a lot more action in it. Both the characters are very interesting. You get to see the one in the past, unlike in The Call, you only see the present the whole time and hear
Hmm.
what's happening in the past through the phone. This one showcases both at the same time. And I thought that that kind of added a lot more to it because you see Young Suk being absolutely psychotic and crazy. And this movie goes down an entirely different path of a serial killer, psychopathic killer, completely messing with everything back and forth in the past. It's such a good movie. Please, please, please give them a watch if you have not. The Call can be found on Netflix, and The Caller can be found on Tubi for free, of course. Tubi should sponsor us at this point. But I thought that this movie was really good. Both movies are phenomenal. The original, I think, does a really good job of making it very focused on the present and the control that this lady has of her in the past versus the remake is a bit more of a traditional cat and mouse chasing type of game where you're seeing both sides of it. You're following the stories, cannot like at the same time. So I think that that kind of took away a little bit of the power that the call has, but the caller has. But all in all, phenomenal movie. Please watch them both. One for free, one on Netflix.
All right.
So
All
what
right.
about you? What's
Cool.
your top one?
So my again, I didn't put them in any particular
Or
order. Yeah, but my last hidden gem, and this one's kind of a stretch. It did not do well at all. It got a 33% critic score and a
oh gosh.
30% audience score. Yeah, it was bashed. However, I came across it, decided to watch it, and I liked it a lot. And it's
Okay.
2013's Cottage Country. So basically, this film stars Tyler Labine, who also starred in Tucker and Dale versus Evil,
Love him.
and Swedish actress Melon Ackerman. So it's about a guy. He's this timid kind of pushover named Todd. He wants everything to be perfect at the family cottage where he plans to propose to his girlfriend Cammy. But things go awry when his deadbeat slacker brother Todd shows up with his free spirited girlfriend. They get into this huge argument about who should be using the family cottage that weekend. And Todd accidentally dispatches of his annoying brother. Um, Cammy is determined not to let murder stand in the way of their happiness. This movie, again, it was one I just came across on uh, Amazon Prime. I had just recently watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil, so when I saw the film star Tyler Labine, I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna check that out. I like that guy," and thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it's kind of campy. It's more of a
hmm
comedy horror, so to speak. But it was really good. I enjoyed it. The 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 ending was great. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to
Okay.
put any spoilers out there, but I thought it was worth the watch. I was disappointed to see how low the critic and audience scores were on Rotten Tomato. Um,
hmm
but again, it's not a uh, I can't think of the word, but it's a low production. It's not
Oh, okay. Yeah.
anything spectacular, but there's only so much you can do when you're focused on they're in a cottage by a lake,
Yeah.
but what the things that progress and happen keep you entertained, and like I said, I love the ending, so definitely I think it's worth the
Okay.
watch.
I have to put that on my list. I haven't seen that one, and knowing it's on Amazon Prime,
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to give that one definitely a watch. I love sometimes a good dark comedy.
Yeah, exactly,
Good
exactly.
choice. Well, those are our hidden gems. And again, a lot of the scores could be related to the fact that possibly not a lot of people have seen it. And sometimes people do love to rant about negative reviews more so than positive reviews. Um, so that can always, no, but it's true. It can always kind
Yeah.
of sway who's going to actually
Yeah.
write a review and who might just be like, no, it's a fine movie. Let it
Right.
be. It's not super popular. But these movies, at least we liked. We hope that you guys will check them out and give them a watch. Most of mine are free on Tubi. You can give them a watch, and hopefully you'll like them. If you do, please make sure to leave a comment down below which ones that you liked, which ones you might have seen, what your opinion on them, or some hidden gems that we didn't list that you think we should definitely check out. And maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point. But until then, we will keep finding movies that scare us. Make sure that you give us a like and subscribe. Follow our social medias down below, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.